Today I'm going to give you 6 different path designs, 5 in the overworld and 1 in the nether, and then I'm going to give it to you as a world download in both Java and Bedrock. Don't you go anywhere. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening and good night, and welcome to another episode from me, Avomance, in my Building Something in a Number of Different Ways series. Now last time I did mine entrances, 5 mine entrances to be precise, and you guys said you would really like me to do some different things as well. And one of the things you asked for were paths, so I'm going to show you 5, well actually 6, but 5 ways to build a path in Minecraft. But I'm not just going to smack grass with a spade. We're going to go a little bit deeper than that, in different biomes, different styles. Let's go and have a play. Now, like last time, I'm going to offer a world download for this particular world. But more excitingly, this time I've got a world download for both Java and Bedrock Edition. Yes, you heard it here first. Java and Bedrock Edition world downloads are in the link in the description below. That will take you straight to a Google Drive, and you'll find in there Bedrock and Java links that you can get your world download from. Have to be honest, have no idea if it's going to work, but if it does, please let me know in the description below. I would be absolutely delighted. And if I can get it to work, I'll tell you what, I'll be starting to do world downloads for Bedrock on loads of other stuff as well. Obviously not stuff that involves redstone, because Bedrock is just messed up when it comes to that. I have got warps in the background there that is going to take you to each of the different paths when you do arrive in the world. And what I have to say, just make sure if you come in the Bedrock world will bring you to the world spawn. This is not the world spawn. You need to teleport yourself to -44976 otherwise you won't find this. But once you're here, it's all good. The way to get your saves folder in Bedrock into your Windows 10 world at least is in the description below. How you get it into your P or your Xbox, I think my mate Google could probably help you out with that one. Let's get ourselves into the first one. It is the Plains 1 path. Let's go and have a look and see what the place is like. We found ourselves a pretty little plains area that is surrounded by a forest of different types of trees and a river running around the outside. We're going to use this site for a fairly simple pathway that you can put into any of your builds. I say we build ourselves a nice basic pathway winding through these plains. For this simple path, we're going to use a relatively simple palette. Most of this is for decoration, only a little bit is actually going to build the path itself. First up, I trace the shape of this path just with the spade to create path blocks. I need to make sure it winds naturally rather than having some sharp corners. I then bring in things like coarse dirt just to give a different tone to that path and make it set out against the grass. I can then add in some gravel, which gives a different colour, a nice grey shade, and works really well against that coarse dirt. You can then bring out more grey by using something like cobble. It makes it look a little bit harsher, but actually works really well against the green. And then have a completely contrasting colour. Something like wood works really well and makes the path stand out even from a distance. Then fill out any blanks that don't quite work with your spade again. This simple plains path is all about the decoration. The path itself is really quite simple. Let's go and have a little wander down it. It's fairly wide so you can see it from a distance, and you could make it narrower if you want, but all of the secret of a path in the plains is about the decoration on the outside of the path, not necessarily the path itself. We've got this gazebo cum trellis type thing going on there. I've used a different leaf, that's spruce leaves, as opposed to the oak leaves that trim the bushes on the side, and it makes for a really nice contrast. We've added a little bit of a water feature on the right hand side, and the path forks just to make a little point of interest around both sides of that water feature. We've also added a little bit of farmland in just to expand the outside and make it a bit different colour palette, I guess. It just makes it look a little bit more interesting. Add in a few trees, lots of flowers. That's what the plains really ought to look like. Path idea number 1, check. Let's get on to the second one. Path number 2 is in the mesa. This one looks a little bit more barren, so we can't put quite so much detailing on the outside. It just wouldn't work. So let's crack on with a mesa build. We've got a much less intricate palette for the mesa because it is a much blander canvas that we're playing with, but we can still get plenty of decoration in there, and we're using some different colours just to bring out that orange of the mesa itself. Now obviously you can't use a spade to make the path outline, so I've used some acacia wood planks because it gives just a slight change to the colour of that red sand, enough for me to be able to see it, and then I contrast it up with some birch planks as well, and then you can see it very clearly. Added in coarse dirt, that's quite natural to the mesa, and then after that we're going to add in just a few other blocks, things like stripped dark oak, which is superb, and also some oak blocks too. We then put in the step areas, and then we decide that we're going to put dark oak as fences, but fewer fences than we did on the last track because I think it's going to be a little bit more sparse, and then light them up with some standard lanterns in the middle. With Germ's Better Leaf Pack, these birch leaves look that yellow golden colour that offsets against the mesa sand so nicely. I've used fewer than I did on the plains because it's mesa, it's not going to have as much vegetation, but I really like the way it details up the path, and it could almost be tumbleweeds. We then make a bit of a wagon that we're going to fill with things like TNT and ore. These pioneers have come a long way. They've been mining. They've taken out some of their ore so they can sleep in the wagon, and they've made themselves a campsite there with some logs to stand in. The green of those cactus offset against the yellow just to highlight a little bit more. We put in some minecarts on some tracks just to give a little bit more interest, and then I create some wooden lamp stands. Nothing more common than wood in a mesa, other than maybe sand. I love building in the mesa. It can be so simple and yet so effective with just a few little details. It makes it look amazing. Let's have a little look at the super simple path design that we've got for this mesa. So you can see the texture of the path there. I've kept some of the red sand in there. You know what I might do? I might just pop that in there. That was too cornery. But it's just so easy to make these kind of pathways. Make sure you use acacia, some coarse dirt and some offset colours, and it works really beautifully. These leaves, my mate Germ, he's a genius. It works so beautifully in this mesa area. I love the lamps, and all in all, especially with this little thing here, look, I love it. This car, it just adds such little bits of detail, make all the difference. A long sweeping track. I've not branched it off too much because really only one route through the mesa to get to where it is you're going on the other side unless you're a miner. This is a really nice easy pathway that you could add to your worlds with absolutely no problems whatsoever. That's 2 people. Let's get on to the third one. And for the third path we are going to the plains again, but we're going to do it slightly differently. This plains is similar to the last one, but it's got a few small differences. We're going to wind the path up and around, so it's going to be more of an uphill kind of thing. We've got a tiger biome right near us, so we're going to see if we can't integrate that a little bit. And we've got a really pretty little river there as well, and I wonder if we can bring something to do with that river into this too. Not sure. Let's have a play. This is the palette we're going for. You can see we've got quite a lot of spruce in there, but there's still oak, 3 different types of leaves, and lots of decoration. Plains needs lots of decoration for the paths. Let's crack on with it. Back to using the spade to trace this path outline all the way up this plains hill with the animals following me as I go. I'm using more path blocks with this path, however, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to detail it. I'm going to be first using stone, just standard stone, not cobble. That grey colour offsets the tan of the path block beautifully. I'm not using too many, just enough. And then we're going to bring in some coarse dirt as well. That means the grass won't grow back over that, because I'm going to be keeping some grass blocks within the path as well to make it appear a little bit more rustic. I'm then using spruce planks to bring in that darker tone that complements beautifully the path block as well. We're so near the tiger forest, we really need to have spruce within this area. I'm then using some stone slabs to use the steps. I thought about using wood, but I thought the stone slabs would look much nicer. I'm using spruce fences in sets of 3 down the sides of this path. I'm also tidying up the edges of the path as I go, because there's some little jutty out bits that really don't belong there. But then I decided as I went across the middle that it would be really nice to incorporate this water area that we've got. So I started digging out a trench from the mountain going across into that meandering river, and I figured we could make some kind of a bridge moving across the path that breaks it up and gives it a little bit more interest to the eye. However, it took quite a lot of digging to get those blocks out before putting the water in, running down through that gorge, cutting that road in two. I then put some decoration using some cobblestone around the edge of the opening of the water. When I looked, I decided that the source of that stream wouldn't come out in those cobbles like that, so I tracked back, created a cutout in the rest of the mountain and put a hole just underneath one of the ledges. That made far more sense to me, and then the stream can come right out from the top of the mountain. I decorated up with some extra cobble. I started work on the bridge, and the challenge was it was on a diagonal, so I used slabs as a template. Then I brought in some campfires to give it some extra texture, and then one level up, more slabs. That allows me to have a humpback bridge that isn't too detailed, completely made out of wood, decorated up with buttons, lights and a few fence posts. I started to design a different lamppost for this build, and we've got mossy brick, mossy wall, along with some spruce fence and also a grindstone. I think it looks pretty nice, slightly different, and the grindstone draws your eye. I placed those along the path all the way to the source. It was then time to bring in some bushes, and I thought, let's mix the bushes up a little bit. We're going to use dark oak, and they're going to go right up to the source of that stream. And on top of the dark oak, I'm going to add a little bit of normal oak. It's ever so slightly lighter, and with Germ's Better Leaves pack, they've also got little flowers, so it adds a little bit of extra detail. I really quite like it, and I brought those oak leaves down to come into the gorge that I've created to go into the river as well. Once I completed that, I thought I'm just going to add a point of interest in the curve of that path. So we're creating a large field, and in that field we've put a scarecrow, but also melon and pumpkin seeds. I figured let's move away from the wheat we had in the last plains and put in some larger fruit. I then put a smaller path with just a little bit of detail moving from the main road into that melon and pumpkin patch. All that's left is to add the plants. I thought I'd just use sunflowers for this. I quite like the spot colour of that yellow as it goes up that pathway. I then bring in some ferns. We are near that tiger biome. Ferns are common to the tiger biome, so I thought ferns would make sense. I then use bone meal everywhere and put some sea pickles within all of the watercourses to make sure that they're lit up too. Then I pop in a couple of trees, and I think we're pretty much done. This one, whilst having some similarities to the last plains path, is actually quite different in terms of its textures and the way in which I've constructed it. Let's take a quick look. I've used much darker tones in the pathway itself. This is to echo the fact that we're right next to the tiger biome, and I've brought in a number of ferns and also sunflowers. The ferns doing the tiger, the sunflowers suggesting a sunflower plains. These lampposts, I really like them. The use of the grindstone works really well. Dangling a relatively low lamp there, giving plenty of light to ground level, helping to stop the mobs from spawning. Use of stone rather than wood as the step up with these paths also just breaks up that dirt a little bit. I've put extra path blocks in. It makes it look a little bit more worn, a little bit more rustic, but what makes it look really rustic is the fact that we've got this simple bridge that goes over this, well, I guess you could call it a river, a streamy river that comes down from the mountain that we made ourselves. I really like the way this one came out. It looks perfect. Germ's Better Leaves just adds so much to these leaf and bush blocks. I really like it a lot. 3 down. Let's go and do number 4. We are going up to path number 4, and that is going to take us to a village. I wonder how we're going to do this one. Now this village is not too big, not too small. It's between a forest with different types of trees. We've got oak, we've got birch, and we've also got a tiger and a snowy tiger mixed in together. So the backdrop is absolutely beautiful. It is a plains village, but it's got that foresty feel, and we need to bring that in. All of the roads, they're already in there. So actually, this one shouldn't take too much work. We're not going to play with the houses at all. We're just going to work on the paths. Let's crack on. Really basic palette for this. Because we've got the surrounding already there with the buildings, etc., we literally only have to focus on the road. So we're going very stony, obviously with some bushes, but some other bits and pieces as well. Let's see what we do. This one isn't going to take much explaining. I'm replacing most of the path blocks with various stony blocks. So in here we've got stone, we've got cobblestone, we've got brick, we've got mossy brick, we've got mossy cobblestone, and we're also going to throw a little bit of coarse dirt in there just to break up that grey so it doesn't look so harsh. But you can see from an aerial view here, it completely changes the way the village looks. Even though we've not touched the houses, the village is already looking completely different. I'm using mossy cobblestone walls to trim off these paths. Wooden fences just didn't feel quite right. We've used stone for the floor, so we may as well use stone for the walls as well. We've used them in sections of 3, so they're fairly broken up, and we're going to put lights on each and every one of them so as we can maybe reduce the number of zombies that come into this village. You can't really have paths unless you've got hedges, so I've brought in some spruce and some oak to mix in together to create some multicoloured hedges in clumps, some more bushes than hedges really, looking more natural than cultivated. I figured it'd be quite nice if they had a pagoda in the middle of this village, some kind of large trellis with weeping vines coming all over this. I don't mean the weeping vines from the Nether, obviously, I just mean vines that are rolling off the top of it. I've used oak specifically for this, which is the reverse of what I did in the first pathway video. I then used spruce slabs to create the step ups for the different path levels, and then in that kind of town square area down to the right, I thought I'd put in a little fountain just to add a little bit of interest and break up all of that grey. We have kept it really simple. Yes, we have Mr. Sheep in this village centre. We've got mixture of bushes, both dark oak and oak. I've thrown in a few flowers, roses specifically, and the odd fern with a little bit of bone meal around the outside. That's the only decoration we've done outside of the path. I've decorated this path up with some buttons and some trapdoors just to make it look a little bit more rustic, and it's got a little bit more texture. But all in all, it looks pretty good. These small steps made out of wood break up that grey of the stone, which I like a really lot. Inside the pagoda we've got light so as there's no spawns, but the effect is great. They could hold any kind of party or event under here without any problems. Back up again into this market area, which is where the bell is situated. We've done a fountain, really easy. We've just done a 3x3 square with the corners cut off, built up in the middle, put a fence around about 3 or 4 blocks high, waterlogged it, and it looks really effective. I like it a very lot. We are flying through these now. Let's crack on to the next one. So what is our 5th path? Oh, we're going into a ravine. This could be interesting. It's not just any ravine, it is an underground ravine, which means there's no sun coming in from above. I've got to think about how we're going to light this up as well as how we're going to make the pathway through the bottom. It's a fairly rocky palette as you would expect underneath the ground, but I brought in a little bit of blackstone. We've still got green, and I thought maybe just a little touch of oak wood and dark oak as well with a bit of spruce fencing. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to do it. The lighting is going to be a challenge. Let's just crack on. The first bit here was the easy bit. I just went backwards and forwards up and down the base of this ravine with different rocky blocks, things like cobblestone, things like stone brick. We even brought in some blackstone, some polished blackstone and other similar blocks. What's going to be difficult is how to make it look like I've not just lobbed a load of stone blocks on the bottom of a ravine. I have also created some step patterns using some dark oak slabs. This is fairly normal for a path, and it means you've got a straight run. You don't have to jump up and down any blocks. It makes for a much smoother passage, and it's a lot easier on the eye. Another big challenge of a ravine is the fact that you've got almost no space to play with. The width in some areas is only 3 or 4 blocks wide, so you place any blocks and it's just going to get in the way. I've used dirt with water placed underneath the stone to allow me to plant up some crops, things like wheat. I'm also going to put some ferns and some flowers in there just to bring some life to this. I'm then going to bring in some hanging leaves, and I'm using oak leaves because in Germ's Better Leaves package that comes with little white flowers, and I think that adds quite a nice effect. I'm dangling these up the walls and from the ceiling, but in some areas I'm going to have to bring in a platform made out of dark oak slabs that I can hang those vines and those leaves off of, so it looks like they've actually got something that they're holding on to. I'm also adding vines and cobwebs to this build just to give a little bit more interest. Now, because I'm freestyling these builds, I've got no idea what they're going to look like until I've finished. And I've got to be honest, I didn't think this would look anything like this whatsoever. It's a bit more of a fantasy ravine than some kind of dark, dingy ravine that I thought it might turn out to be. Let's have a quick wander through it. It's not that big, so it won't take long. So the first thing you can see is that it is really, really green. Okay, we've got cobwebs, we've got blackstone just to add a little bit of an accent, but the greenery is what really hits you. Vines and leaves flowing off of the ceiling and the walls, especially off of that platform that I've put up the top there. I've done that to add some light, just to put a little bit of safety if you're not playing in peaceful. I am, however, in peaceful. These hanging shroom lights also, I love them. They're really, really good, and the fact they're at different levels actually gives it a lot more interest as well. The wheat hasn't grown yet. It will have done by the time you download this world. Remember, this world is available to download in both Bedrock and Java. So I hope that actually brings a lot more interest to it. The bats, well, there's nothing you can do about the bats. They are going to spawn right up in that ceiling, which I haven't lit up. But if you want to add more light to get rid of the bats, that's also an option for you. I think you could almost make a base out of this area. If you dig out a few sides, you could get yourself all the things that you could possibly need entirely under the ground. So it kind of becomes a bit of a cave base. And I've added up the top here, oh, the vines on there, I've almost missed that one. Added up the top here, a set of doors. Not a lot behind them, but if you come into the world, perhaps you can put something there. This was a fun one to make actually, really challenging with the width of the ravine. I've got one more thing to show you. Let's go. Now, when I was planning this video, I wasn't originally going to do 6. I was just going to do the 5 that you've seen so far. But I thought, you know what? You need paths in the nether. So there's the nether portal. Let's go through it. And on the other side, we have got another warp that is going to take us to where we need to go. I guess we better get there. And the warp has brought us into this really gorgeous crimson forest. I love it. We've got a little bit of lava that we need to avoid, but we've got a bit of flat area here that we're going to be building something path-like through these red trees. I'm looking forward to this one. Not a clue at how it's going to look when I finish, but let's crack on. This one is going to be a little bit trickier, but given that we're in a crimson forest, I wanted to contrast that with some of these warped things here. We've also got some dark prismarine, still bringing in some actual crimson wood as well. I've got some fire coral block, what I thought would be quite interesting potentially. Gilded blackstone, I may or may not use it, don't know, but also some brick slabs. We've got some dirt and some dead bushes and various decoration items. Not sure what I'm going to use, may use some stuff that's not here. Let's crack on. I decided I was going to start by using a really contrasting colour, and this warped plank works absolutely beautifully. The green against the red of this crimson forest, you know exactly where you're going as it twists through the trees. I then used some brick slabs to use the steps. The red isn't so red that it mixes into those crimson nylium, but it offsets it just nicely. I put some warped nylium in there as well, and then some crimson planks just to give a nod to the fact that we're in that biome. I can't believe I didn't think to use these red nether bricks. They're absolutely perfect for this. And then some gilded blackstone adds a little fleck of detail and colour that otherwise wouldn't be there with some of the other blocks. I tried using some red fire coral, but obviously and unfortunately it turns grey the second you put it in, but it works too, so I figured I'd go with that. We've got nether brick fencing, and then I decided to use some soul lanterns on there. They're giving very little light, but they will keep away the hoglins. I've brought in a lamppost that contrasts with the crimson forest, again using those warped tones. It works really well, it's super simple. I've brought in a little bit of mossy cobble just to give it some grey tone as well, but I think that greater level of light that you're going to get from a standard lantern is going to help to stop a lot of spawning, and it's quite attractive and lines up this path really nicely. I'm then going to place a few more lanterns up and down the path, just on the floor or on the rocks next to it, just to keep this entire path open and spawn free. I placed some dirt and put some dead bushes in there. It didn't seem right to put real bushes, so dead bushes fit the bill. I'm then creating some smoking lava pits using campfires with lava suspended over signs so the smoke comes through them. It's a really good effect and makes perfect sense in the nether. I put some obsidian and some crying obsidian next to those lava pits just to give them a little bit of contrast, and then used warp roots and warp sprouts to add more colour to the edge of the paths. With so many biomes, it's actually very difficult to do a path that works in the nether now, but I think this one came out pretty well for a crimson forest, and actually you could probably transfer it across into a warped forest as well, or maybe any of the other biomes. Let's take a look at it. I like the way that these green shades of the twisted forest contrast with the warped forest stuff here. It's nice to have the crimson and the green together. They do work really, really well. We've got animation on the side there from those steaming lava pits, although it does look like that lava has burnt off those dead bushes. That was inevitable, I guess. I like these lampposts. They work really well. They work with the pathway. They contrast with the surrounding, and they give enough light to stop some of the spawns that might otherwise come in here. These soul lanterns also keep those hoglins away. They're going to bite your face off otherwise. Now we're descending quite quickly down this pathway. Often the nether does have changing heights in its landscape very, very quickly, so that works quite well. And come down to another level until we continue to descend, going down to a full lava level at this Y. You've got to be careful that you don't fall off the edge here straight into that hot stuff, but I think this path came out rather well. Let me know what you think in the comments below. 6 path ideas across 2 dimensions. I hope there's something in there that can inspire you. Let me know in the comments below which of those paths is your favourite, and maybe which one you're going to use first. Don't forget, you can download these worlds on both Bedrock and Java. At least I hope you can do Bedrock, because, well, frankly, I'm not entirely certain I'm going to get it right, but I'm going to give it a go, so fingers crossed. So I hope you enjoy them. They're completely free. The link is in the description below. If you have enjoyed this video, please do remember to slap that like button. It'd be great to know you're enjoying them, and I will keep on making them. Also, if you've not done it already, please do hit that subscribe button. It'd be great to see you in my sub club, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. You take it easy now. Bye.